Hey everybody, it's Mike Young with Mike Young Real Estate, and we are here to talk about some changes that are happening in the real estate market right now that are more than just the price, because we are really hearing from people about they're saying, oh, the price, we're record prices for houses in the United States and in Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, Triangle. But what matters more than the price? They're not really talking about that, but changes are happening. And they are about to happen. So we're going to discuss this in the video today. Before we get into that, let me also first mention that this is not financial advice. I am just some random dude on the internet, and this is for informational and educational purposes only. So thank you so much for understanding that disclaimer and proceed at your own risk. So what's going to change? Well, of course, there are many factors in real estate besides the price. Now, what has changed up into this record historical seller's market? This seller's market of historic proportions. Now, why would I say historic? Well, that's because of all the other factors besides price. Basically, when you buy a house, you may have heard in the past, if you're new to real estate, you may not even realize this, but in the past, we used to do home inspections, and the home inspector used to be called the deal killer who would destroy it, who would find all the stuff wrong with your house, and we'd hand this super long list over to the seller and say, you have to fix all this stuff or we're not buying your house. But that has completely vanished in this market. The buyers have no leverage. The sellers have been laughing at buyers. They've been not fixing anything. All these houses are being sold as is. In most of the listings, it says as is. Inspection, if you decide to do and pay for one, it's always at the expense of the buyer, always, is for your own information, FYI, just so you know what you're getting into, but we're not doing anything. Thank you very much. So that's been the hidden thing that you can't see behind the price is, so it's the terms, right? So a home inspection and repairs are just some of the terms. And then of course there's, imagine this other concept called closing cost assistance from the seller. Have you ever heard of such a thing? If you're new to home buying, you've never heard of this before, because no house anytime recently in this market has been sold by a seller unless that seller was represented by some agent that didn't know what they were doing, and which actually is possible. It's possible that this happened, okay? Not likely. But really, there's been no reason for any seller to have to give any closing cost assistance to any buyer. Most of the stuff's been in cash. Of course, we know cash is king. So there's two things right there. There's a home inspection and associated repairs. There's closing cost assistance. All these things are going to come back. That's what you have to look forward to as a buyer. Because if you're a buyer now, you're like, oh my gosh, that $200,000 house I looked at in Raleigh about 4 years ago, is now $400,000. And they're not going to fix anything. And the roof's been leaking for the last 3 years and all this other stuff. And don't worry. Thank God you didn't buy it in the last 6 months if you didn't buy it already, because it's going to be coming back. The pendulum is swinging from that seller's market over to the buyer's market. Okay. So, and when it does, then all of a sudden, not every sale is going to be cash. And actually, that's another thing I need to talk about. Not every sale is going to be cash. You're not going to see as high of a percentage of sales in cash. And the reason why is because of my own theory on that, which I'll get to in a second. But you're going to be able to see a lot more mortgage purchases, a higher percentage of purchases being mortgage purchases. You're going to be seeing closing cost assistance being offered and paid for by the sellers. You're going to see repairs being paid for by the sellers. You're going to see them much more likely to wait for you to sell your own house if you got one, because a lot of people are like, contingency, home sale contingency, forget that. What's that? Like, that's another thing you may not even know about. What's a home sale contingency? Because no seller has ever, any time that I've been looking in the last 2 years, been willing to even discuss that. That's because they have so much leverage. It's such an extreme, extraordinary, historical seller's market. But that's going to change. So you'll be able to go in and say, well, okay, I'd like to buy this. It used to be $300,000 house. And I'd like you to wait while Mike over here, my knowledgeable realtor, sells my existing home first. And then I would like to buy your house. Like, you can't even think about doing that in this market, but that's going to return. Again, things that aren't reflected in the prices. There's a lot more. So what's happened, what you've been seeing with the prices going up is just one aspect. It's been way worse than that. Just from the things that I've told you, way worse. Now, what's going to cause it to come back down? Like I said, especially in Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, Wake Forest, Triangle areas, so many BlackRock, Vanguard investment companies, people who are renting them out, corporations, not people, not individual Joes and Janes buying, okay? But these people have been cash buyers, and they've been getting their money, a lot of them, from the securities-based lines of credit, which are basically leveraging their stock portfolios, which they hope won't go down, to get free cash to buy these houses. But they are going to go down. They're already going down. As you know, if you've been following some of the stocks, especially tech stocks, down 80% in the last 6 months, certain ones, if they are holding those and they didn't sell them, they're in trouble. As we know, most people cannot accurately predict the market. Like I can't either. Okay. All I can tell you is when I see something that's incredibly cheap, which I have not seen in a long time in the real estate market, or something that is incredibly expensive, which that's what I've seen recently in the real estate market. Not necessarily land, but the overpriced lumber compiled on that land called a home or a house. That has been overpriced recently. That's got to change. There's no way that's sustainable. There's no way. I don't care what market you're in. I don't care who's moving into the area. And also be careful who you listen to, because a lot of people who are telling you this, they don't have the pressure of having to work a wage job and pay that mortgage. A lot of people who are giving the advice don't have that. They're not in that situation. They're not necessarily advocating for you. They're advocating for them, who is probably independently wealthy. They can weather any storm, but a wage earner is not going to make it through without foreclosure hitting them if it's not navigated properly. So that's what I believe is it's going to happen with this real estate market. And it's happening already. Okay, it truly is. But I'm not voicing myself out here saying, okay, buyers, rush in. It's not time yet. I think there's going to be a lot more pain on the part of sellers and people who have recently bought in the last 6 months to a year that we are only just beginning to see. Wait for that pain to set in, buyers, because when it does for these sellers, then all these terms are going to swing your way, okay? All these things are going to be so happy that you're here to buy their house. I know it seems impossible right now. It really does, especially if all you've known is the last 2 years of looking for a house and you've been outbid 20 times. Believe me, I understand the frustration, but it's going to get better. So just be patient and wait it out. Just a little time, a little patience, and we'll see. And by the way, if you're watching this video, you watch all the way to the end here, let me know in the comments when you think it's going to turn into a buyer's market. Give me a month and a year, I can't tell you that right now, but I can tell you we're not there yet, but we're going to get there. And the pace is going to start accelerating. Things are good. There's cracks all around. I'm seeing the cracks. The mortgage rates have doubled, 2.5% to 5%. They may go higher. I don't know what's going to happen, but they've already doubled. That's the important part. And if you are your average Joe and Jane trying to buy with a mortgage, you are in big trouble. But don't worry, just wait, because things are going to change. So write in the comments when you think it's going to change. I'll be looking forward to reading those. Thanks so much for watching. Give me a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. It's Mike Young signing off. Bye.